bring you up to speed on what is happening across the country. They are marching with chants. They are marching with their messages in hand, just asking the questions that gentleman there. What has changed? We can also see Justice for Ojwang is there with many messages, including one here on what has changed. Stop killing us. With many just waving the Kenyan flag. You can see others, that is, I think, around the ferry area, if I'm not wrong, who are just standing there witnessing what is happening on the roads. And it is a different scene from what we've seen previously, where protesters would be met with police officers, tear gas, talk about water cannons, batons being wielded at them, guns renting the air. But this is peaceful as demonstrators just walk and demonstrate as well. Nairobi as well has the same feel and vibe, and those are live images that you can see from Nairobi CBD. You can see young people engaging with police officers, shaking hands, and it is, you'd want to say it is rare occurrence that we get to see, but this ought to be how it should be, because police officers are Kenyans, they are part of us, should be engaging with protesters as they provide security, as they work together, as they work together in ensuring that the demos are peaceful. You can see police officers just mingling with the Kenyans there, and it is such images that when we see as a Kenya, as countrymen, we applaud. We look at that police officer just smiling, you know, pose for a picture, man, let's take a selfie. These are images that then sends forth the Kenyanness, the patriotism that there is. But remember, these are demonstrators, a clear departure from how the situation has been previously. This is close to Central Police Station. This is that bridge that goes all the way to Central Police Station towards University of Nairobi. And these are images that we see, including an individual there, Kenya's bold newspaper, right there, communicating with the public. Doesn't get any better than that. Aluta continua, fallen heroes. We continue to name them. You see the image of Rex Masai there, and it is communication, keeping true to our cause, ensuring that the republic that Kenyans get to know. Not easy. Not a situation that we would have wanted to be in, but then again, Kenya's bold newspaper will always be there to enlighten you and to bring you up to speed. But then again, you can see those are just protesters walking around, police officers with them, as well as just ensuring that there is peace. Nothing has happened. No tear gas has been lobbed. The Kenyan flag dominating majority of these protests. You can see that is one individual who has decided, hata kama ni kuchoka, nitachoka lakini flag lazima ipepe. You can see police officers walking with them as well. You can see as well Kalonzo Musyoka there walking with flowers with a wreath there, saying that he wants to head to Parliament and lay that wreath of flower in commemoration of Kenyans who were shot and died outside Parliament in last year's Gen Z protest, that is 2024, during the Reject Finance Bill 2024 protest that saw Kenyans overrun Parliament. Many were killed outside Parliament. We also have others who were shot and killed as they were walking outside Parliament. And these are the opposition leaders with flowers draped in the Kenyan flag as they leave the Holy Family Basilica heading towards Parliament. Let's just see how that will proceed, because we know that Parliament, as we speak right now, has been totally cordoned off. We've seen extra security measures put in place. We talk about the razor barbed wire that has been erected along Parliament Road by security officers. All these, as had been said earlier, that protected areas would be totally secured and cordoned off with regard to ensuring that these areas, these spaces protected. But nonetheless, let's just see how this will go. Police officers, this is a police lorry there with police officers ahead. Morning. Let's just see how this will go. Will they engage? Will they have a conversation? Will they be allowed to go through? It is the moment of reckoning as Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, Enoch Wambua, and other leaders walk towards the police officers. We can see them talking, you can see them pushing forward, you can see them walking past the police officers, we can see them walking hand in hand with their flowers, we can see them actually headed towards the barricaded area to lay their wreath. You can see the water cannon. This is the water cannon that is blocking the camera, and this is what has been used to disperse the demonstrators, and this is where now with the opposition leaders will be at to lay their wreath. We see now police officers are now forming that wall between them and the barbed wire, perhaps having a conversation with police officers on the next course of action, because as you said, security has been heightened. That barbed wire that has been erected there is to deter any would-be protesters from accessing Parliament, which is regarded as a protected area. Kalonzo Musyoka and opposition leaders and other Kenyans as well, just with flowers draped in Kenyan flag, walking towards Parliament. Kalonzo saying that would be so that they lay the wreath of flowers outside Parliament in commemoration of Kenyans who were shot and killed in 2024 during the Reject Finance Bill 2024 protest that saw Kenyans overrun Parliament. In commemoration of Kenyans draped in Kenyan flag, walking to security has been heightened, and the barbed wire perhaps having to lay their wreath. We see now police officers are now forming that wall between them and the barbed wire, perhaps having a conversation with police officers on the next course of action, because as you said, security has been heightened. That barbed wire that has been erected there is to deter any would-be protesters from accessing Parliament, which is regarded as a protected area. Kalonzo Musyoka and opposition leaders and other Kenyans as well, just with flowers draped in Kenyan flag, walking towards Parliament. Kalonzo saying that would be so that they lay the wreath of flowers outside Parliament in commemoration of Kenyans who were shot and killed in 2024 during the Reject Finance Bill 2024 protest that saw Kenyans overrun Parliament during that time. You can see that is the razor barbed wire fence pretty much that has been laid there, that has been put there to protect Parliament buildings. And as you can see, that is flowers finally being laid there. Police officers hand in hand with Kenyans in laying these flowers, offering security, but then again not causing any mayhem. You can see this is a police uniform, a police officer right there in police uniform. You can see allowing Kenyans to mingle with them, allowing Kenyans to lay their flags, a total departure from the way it has been before. And all these, as you look at it, if you just remember, Kenyans are doing this in remembrance of fellow Kenyans who died as they pushed that they be heard, who pushed that according to the Constitution, public participation that was taking place, that they participated in Finance Bill 2024. They were not heard. Members of Parliament went ahead and passed that bill to be an act of Parliament, and they rejected that. But as you can see, Kenyans in white t-shirts, Kenyans draped in flags, Kenyans with flowers sending a message forward. We are here to remember our fallen soldiers. We are here to say we shall never forget. And this is a departure from how it has been before. Kenyans have been allowed to mingle with police officers. I think that is Rigathi Gachagua, if I'm not wrong, who is working together with Kalonzo Musyoka. That should be one Rigathi Gachagua, but we shall confirm that as the day goes by. But as we can see, as we have confirmed, that Kenyans have laid their wreath outside Parliament buildings in that erected wall of barbed wire, razor barbed wire outside Parliament, because remember, Parliament is a protected area and no one is allowed to go beyond that point. But Kenyans have been allowed to get closer to where police officers are. Police officers have mingled with Kenyans. Police officers have guided Kenyans towards this wall and actually allowed them to lay the wreath. Those are the flowers. But if you just pause, just for a moment, and just think what those flowers mean, it means Kenyans died. Kenyans died during a demonstration that was largely peaceful. Kenyans were shot outside Parliament. Did they deserve to die? Absolutely not. But then again, it is the position where we find ourselves today. Those are images of flowers in contrast with the Parliament buildings, a home that Kenya sends, a building that Kenyans send its leaders, donate their power to them to go represent them. And it is sad that it is right there where they were shot and killed. You can see these are Kenyans as well, with police officers. They're just engaging. So far, no tear gas has been lobbed. And this has to be Central Police Station. Why is Central Police Station important, even as we have this discussion? This is where Albert Ojwang died. He died in the hands of police officers in custody. He was arrested in Homa Bay County, Kakoth village, before he was taken to Mawego Police Station. From Mawego Police Station, DCI officers drove him from Mawego Police Station to Nairobi, where he was handed over to the Central Police Station, where OCS Talamu was in charge, and the individual was put in cell only for him to die in police custody. As we have this discussion today, it is all about ending police brutality. But as you can see, Kenyans have actually gone all the way to Central Police Station there, because one message that is being sent today: justice for Ojwang, end police brutality, respect the Constitution, respect the rule of law. It cannot be that you are the protectors and those that maintain law and order, but when individuals come to you in a space where any Kenyan should be guaranteed of being safe, is a place where Kenyans are dying every day. Talk about the IPON report that was released recently, indicating that more than 20 Kenyans have died in police custody, in police hands, continues to baffle many in this country. But as you can see, those are different images from across the country. We have Nairobi, those are Kenyans outside the Central Police Station. Look at Nairobi CBD, that is around the Parliament building, what is happening there. Then you go to Mombasa and you have Kenyans as well demonstrating there. And in Nakuru, police officers just standing there, making sure that the security of protesters, security of businesses is safe and everyone is safe. We continue to have this discussion. We continue to give you a blow-by-blow coverage of what is happening across the country. But as you can see, there is movement around that should be Central Police Station. And finally, tear gas has been lobbed. Tear gas has been lobbed outside Central Police Station. Why has tear gas been lobbed outside Central Police Station? One would have hoped that we would not get to see this, because these Kenyans we're talking about have flags, they have their voices to chant, but finally it has happened. Tear gas has been lobbed outside Central Police Station, where Kenyans were demonstrating and chanting outside the Central Police Station. We continue to follow up on the reasons why even that tear gas was lobbed outside Central Police Station. We continue with the discussion right here in studio. You can see Kenyans running around the bridge now, and we shall be getting there a little bit later to just follow up on what is happening. Gentlemen, 1 year later, 60 Kenyans have died. I just want us to come closer to what the law says with regard to when we talk about managing protests in the country, so that we just have a basis upon which to have this discussion now. When you talk about how police should handle the protests now, first of all, the Constitution, Article 37, grants every person the right to assemble, demonstrate, and picket peacefully and unarmed. right? Now, the Public Order Act, Cap 56, requires advance notice, at least 3 days, not more than 14 days, to the police for any public demonstration or procession. One would argue that police were given several notifications last year during the protest. Now, the National Police Service Act in Standing Orders outlines how police should respond to public gathering, ensuring proportionality and accountability. This is the law. Then let's just go to the key principles for police during protest. Now, the principle number 1 is facilitation, not suppression. That if I come to you and I give you notice on matters to do with I want to demonstrate and these are my issues, police are supposed to do what? Facilitate, not to offer, not to suppress. Now, the use of force, and this is what I want us to look at now, must be lawful, necessary, and proportionate. Lethal force is last resort, and use of rubber bullets, tear gas, or water cannons must be justified and aimed to minimize harm.
As I've said before,
so it begins.
We have a freedom to picket, demonstrate, and present
Article
petitions.
37, yes.
Yes, Article 37 of the Constitution. But you can't, of course, picket when you have a situation where goons have infiltrated a protest. In fact, last year I joined the protest. But you have situation where people who have otherwise other motives, like coming to loot, kill, and steal, they will start throwing stones on the police officers. You see, if you provoke a police officer, throw a stone, they will reply back by the tear gas. And if it persists, they will then go to rubber bullet. If it continues to an extent that one of them is injured, they will also protect themselves. So one of the issues that has not come out clearly in every protest that we have done as the people of Kenya, even in 2017, even in 2023 during the economic protest by Azimio Coalition, and even last year's protest, we've not been able to differentiate between who are the genuine protesters and the goons. And that is where the discussion should come. How are we able to differentiate that me, Dennis, and my good friend here are genuine protesters, and so is a goon paid to come and disrupt the protest? Because I am sure the people who wanted to present petitions in Parliament last year were genuine protesters, genuine young people calling for the withdrawal of the finance bill. But there are those goons who came, infiltrated, and threw stones at the police. So we should be able to, as the people of Kenya, play this patriotic duty of, if you see somebody harmed in a protest, hand over to the police, so that we have a safe space to air out our views. Because we cannot be airing out our views. Police will not know Dennis and Kiprono are genuine protesters, and maybe Kiprono is holding a stone or a machete inside the pocket. So we must come to a realization that protests have evolved. And the evolution has also touched the governance system, including the National Police Service. You've just read the laws that govern protests. So we should be able to take this patriotic duty as a people, that if we see a goon, because they are among us, if in a group of 1,000 protesters, a goon will come to the middle. So we must hand them over to the police, so that in future we set a good precedent that protests can be peaceful, that the protesters can hand over the supposed goons to the police. Right. Those people who have come to destroy the property, kill and maim.
All right. Titezi, as Kipruto speaks of Kiprono, as Kiprono speaks of goons infiltrating the protest and all that, one would, there are reports that the goons ostensibly who get into these protests are then again sent by those who are anti-protest, that would be pro-government, That would be because even if you talk about last week's demonstrations that happened, we saw police officers escorting individuals with batons in a protest. One would argue that it is the police at that point who are facilitating goonery or goonism in this protest. But that aside, even when goons invade these protests, is response by shooting, killing, and maiming? Because the law says you should respond in a way that is proportionate.
Dennis, first I want to welcome my friend Arab Kirwa to Kenya and tell him that we are not in mass. We are in Kenya. And one, you cannot continue blaming and say that we as peaceful Protestants, like myself, that we should look at who is armed and report them to the police, whilst they are brought by the police. How can you report someone who have been brought by the police to do whatever they are doing to the same police? That would be like a waste of time, because you will just be doing one thing at the same time while you are doing nothing. The other thing, we are here. The cameras are here. It's live. Can you tell me what mistake have those young men there done to resort to the police drawing tear gas to them? What can you say if Arab Kirwa is here? He can tell us what mistake have they done. Are there goons there that were supposed to be suppressed with tear gas? Secondly, even if it would get to that case, because the Constitution provides what measures should be taken. I have watched I have been in the protests from last year, and I can tell you that the police are the one who provoke the young people. One, and you have seen it yourself, they start by throwing tear gas, where you are just armed. The only thing we are armed with, and it's just a little thing, it's just my phone and my flag. And does this flag warrant me to be shooted by a police officer just because I lift it up as an active and also officer, just because does this flag just my phone and my flag? And does this flag warrant me to be shooted by a police officer just because I lift it up as an active and also as an active citizen? That's where the question lies. And I feel that the police officers do not really come to offer security or facilitate the protestants. They come to suppress. They are there with the government to ensure that we don't raise our voices. The government does not hear, and to add this salt on a wound, the government that has never had us, and to be specific, the president. And I want to just take you back for a minute. Whatever we are protesting against was the finance bill, because we wanted an overhaul of all the cabinets.
All right, just hold that thought. I want us to go to Nakuru and touch base with our reporter, that is Ken Gashui, who is in Nakuru. Good morning to you, Ken Gashui. Today is a big day, June 25th, 1 year later. What's the situation in Nakuru a year later, Gashui?
Good morning, Aseto. Indeed, here in Nakuru, the situation is very calm. We have not seen large numbers of protesters coming out. Actually, there is no grouping of protesters. People are just going on with their normal businesses. And unfortunately, most of the businesses have been closed down. Not many of them have opened because of the fear that perhaps the protests or
Madam Kaindi told me, and I still remember that Nyamuri, I agree with you fully.
I'm
what you're saying. That is what we should do. However, the problem is that what we are doing is what we were trained at Kiganjo. So every OCS is expected and trained that he must at least once in a week or so carry out raids. Okay, so what am I saying? We need a whole system change. Kaindi was actually telling me that you need to go to Kiganjo and change the curriculum. You get my point? While that was many years ago, it speaks to the problem that we have. And so I would want us to join together, because some of these entities that we actually even condemn, we have human rights defenders who have moved into them. And they are facing challenges from within. We need to support them. We need to understand the challenges. For instance, IPOA, Samson's CEOs sit in IPOA. I know, for instance, that a lady that we have worked with in human rights work under Kituo cha Sheria, that is Dr. Annette Mbogo, sits in IPOA. We need to sit down with them, understand what are the challenges, how can we then support them. But when we then take the entire IPOA and condemn it as a body that should not even exist, the while least we as people who are in the civil society have had our people go in there. What do we expect them to do? There must be a problem why they are not effective where they were, while least
When I woke up today morning, I realized that I'm wiser than I was yesterday. And as I'm speaking, I'm now wiser than I was 2 seconds ago. Just shut up when an intelligent man is talking. Shut up when an intelligent man is talking. I know you have liquid intelligence, so you may not fathom what I'm talking about. Madam Speaker, just leave him. I can kick his head circumponiously. Mr. Speaker, that revolution. Today morning, I realized that I'm wiser than I was yesterday. And as I'm speaking, I'm now wiser than I was 2 seconds ago. Just shut up when an intelligent man is talking. Shut up when an intelligent man is talking. I know you have liquid intelligence, so you may not fathom what I'm talking about. Madam Speaker, just leave him. I can kick his head circumponiously. Mr. Speaker, that revolution advocated for 3 things. Number 1, equality and fraternity. Can you just shut up as I pump knowledge in your empty mind? Mr. Speaker, you know I don't like responding to fools.
Order.
The Bible says in the
Can
book
you
of...
withdraw that?
Mr. Speaker, Keynes came up with a theory called the Keynesian theory. That, I know Mheshimiwa Shakil is not understanding what I'm saying, so he's saying that's all. There's nothing you can say because you have, okay, be there with your liquid intelligence. When I woke up today morning, I realized that
as we bury these children, and without going into the political issues of the moment, which are weighty, Hawa, Mheshimiwa Gachagua, are your grandchildren, a lot of them. Watoto wetu wachanga sana. Uchungu mwingi. I liked what the area member said.
All right, let me conclude. This is a statement from Donald Trump, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran," etc. I agree.
The country of Israel is a state in which half the population exists on 1 tier of citizenship.
Kenyan Senator Aaron Cheruiyot regrets attacking Ibrahim Traore.
Since coming into power,
basi wananchi hapa sisi, basi hii mvua itakuwa ni kidogo, wewe hapana, hata gari yangu naona inatoroka yeye bure. mwambie arudi nyuma. Ni pupafu kabisa. Ukweli ni huo. Sisi wenyewe hatujatoka, nyinyi mmeketi, na huyu wamuona mwambie arudi huko. Anazunguka huko, anakwenda wapi?
The United States just
Okay, for this cake, I needed to add a pond. The first step was
they were effective where we are now. What I'm saying is that as a country, we need to take this opportunity. And June 25th gives us an opportunity to think about it. And I'm calling upon people that let's not think about police brutality in the last 1 year. If we talk about it in the last 1 year, we are lying to ourselves. Some of us have seen worse than this. And we saw it in this country. And we are asking the country that we cannot keep quiet about that. I have mothers, I have orphans that I have worked with, that are suffering in the villages and slums all over the country, that we should listen to. Okay. But human rights also goes beyond even these killings in the road. We have families that have been evicted by systems. I am right now in Supreme Court defending a case that I started defending at the ELC court of a community at Kibos, 3,500 families that were displaced while they were settled there in 1937. Okay. So we need to discuss this thing wholesomely and be able to resolve what the problems are.
Okay, I hear you. So Samson, can we I know you've talked a lot about these tired cliches, bad apples. You said the police reform, discussion is tired. But can there be true progress without political goodwill? And I use another cliche, Samson.
Another very difficult one, because I think, and I agree with Nyamori on a couple of things that he has said. One of the things that we had wanted when we started the conversations of reforming the police in 2007, 2008 was that we needed to completely divorce policing from the executive. So what are some of the things that we needed to do? We needed to have an independent inspector general that would have independent command of the National Police Service. And the question I would want to pose to us today is, do we have an inspector general who has independent command over the National Police Service? I think that's one question to throw out there. The second question to throw out is, do we have an executive that still meddles on policing work? I think the third thing is, do we have political class, apart from just the executive, that also meddles on the on the work of the police? And the answer is, there has been no movement. Policing remains to be highly controlled by the executive. Policing remains to be highly controlled by the political class. The independence of the police has remained to be questioned over time. Fine, there are a couple of things that have been done, giving them a budget, making movements here and there. But in terms of making them truly independent, and if you look at the Office of the Inspector General, the Constitution and the National Police Service calls for an independent Inspector General that will not take orders from anyone, and if orders are to be given to him or her, they must be given in writing. Unfortunately, what we have seen is that the Office of the Inspector General still remains like an appendage of the executive. So policing remains to be controlled at that level. And I think that hampers progress moving forward. So as we speak about reforms, as we speak about giving them money to do more, but
Tonight, KTN has uncovered a chilling conspiracy hatched in the corridors of power to sabotage this week's Gen Z Memorial March. A high-ranking State House insider, a powerful UDA member of parliament from the Rift Valley, are at the center of a covert plot to derail Wednesday's protests. protest meant to honor those who died in last year's bloody demonstrations. Crafted in secrecy and executed with precision, the operation draws from the depths of City Hall and the highest echelons of government. It weaves together a shadowy web of political fixers, hired goons, and digital mercenaries hell-bent on silencing a generation. From disruption to destruction, this is not just about protest. It's about power control and the lengths some will go to crush dissent. This is the inside story.
Wednesday's planned Gen Z protests will mark exactly 1 year since over 60 young people lost their lives in a deadly finance bill uprising. But as scores of young people prepare to take to the streets this Wednesday, a covert operation to stop the protests is underway that could plunge the city into chaos. The shadowy plot, backed by high-ranking officials within the ruling party and City Hall, aims to unleash violence and chaos under the guise of crowd control and protection of property. A squad of hired goons are on standby to unleash terror, targeting mainly the soft spot of the protests, women, so as to spread panic as well as execute orders to snatch phones to prevent the documentation of police brutality and rights violations.
Nafikiri hawa vijana wachache wamekuja Nairobi na rungu ndio wameletea shida, mkuje wiki ijayo ndio mjue vijana hapo kwa wako hapo. Vijana mko? Wangapi wako tayari kudefend serikali? Twende Nairobi. Twende Nairobi. Tugombane na hao.
This man, William Kamket, is speaking in the open, has outrightly declared violence against the protesters. KTN has established that Kamket is working under the command of two top figures, a State House operative and an influential UDA MP from Rift Valley, close to the house on the hill. And in what now appears to be a clear command hierarchy, 5 other MPs and a governor have each been assigned specific duties to scuttle the protests. The 5 are 2 MPs from Kisii County, 2 from Central Kenya, and a female MP from the Rift Valley. On Monday, June 16th, ahead of last Tuesday's protests triggered by the killing of Albert Ojwang, this core team quietly convened at Nairobi's Sarova Pan-Africa Hotel and lasted for 2 hours. The meeting, discussing ways to neutralize the protests, and the results were out in the open. Club-wielding gangs roamed through the city, unleashing terror with reckless abandon. In some areas, they were spotted fueling their motorcycles in the presence of police officers and chanting anti-protest songs. The grand plan that brings together senior government figures, parastatal heads, and digital propagandists aims to plant goons in key protest zones across Nairobi's CBD, arm them with clubs and other weapons, and unleash them to defenseless protesters. Thousands of wooden clubs, KTN has learned, have been transported to the city, all in uniform in design, and manufactured at a private facility in Nanyuki, reportedly owned by a local politician and allegedly transported to the city using police vehicles. Politician been transported to the city, all in uniform in design, and manufactured to the city, all in thousands of wooden clubs, KTN has learned, have been transported to the city, all in uniform in design, and manufactured at a private facility in Nanyuki, reportedly owned by a local politician and allegedly transported to the city using police vehicles. The recruitment of the attackers targets young, jobless men from Nairobi's informal settlements of Mathare, Korogocho, Kibera,
Nice to
Kawangware,
meet you.
and
I'm
Kayole,
Swa.
promised cash and protection in exchange for silence and brute force. KTN has now obtained damning WhatsApp messages and internal memos that expose the anatomy of this counter-protest operation. The operation is being coordinated and driven by a woman identified as Antonella Kakuko, known in political circles as simply Nella. She is a key figure in UDA's communication team, feared and revered, tasked with mobilizing millions of shillings to bankroll the mission. Her latest tweets speak of a venomous woman on a mission, Pick this one for instance. Marehemu watarajiwa wa Wednesday is Wednesday na Occupy State House and other protected areas. Laleni salama. Hiyo haraka ya kwenda Sayuni sijui mmeitoa wapi. Lakini Waswahili husema, mtoto akililia wembe, mpe. At City Hall and running a seemingly parallel process is a lady identified as Elizabeth Waithera, popularly known as Liz, who has emerged as a central figure in last Tuesday's recruitment of goons. Some of the goons have since confessed that they had been recruited to work on behalf of Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja. But the governor has come guns blazing.
I have never and will never sponsor violence of any kind. My entire political life has been anchored on siasa safi, which upholds human dignity, the rule of law, and the democratic rights of every Kenyan.
Mchezo ya kwenda Kaongware kuchukua watoto wetu unawahami ndio waende wafanye uhalifu. Sakaja, you must stop. Wewe walikupigia kura Nairobi, upatie wale vijana ajira, sio kwamba wapatie silaha ya kuingia katika vitendo ya uhalifu.
In the office of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, Felix Koskei, this lady, Karen Cherotich, popularly known as Kiki, is charged with coordination and mobilization of funds. Others coordinating the scheme include Don Kamau, a self-proclaimed ICT strategist who, on social media, has emerged as a conduit between the planners and the street-level executors. In the estates, the top coordinators include Samuel Mundia, a well-known UDA mobilizer for Kayole, Calvins Okoth, popularly known as Gaucho, who famously brands himself as the ghetto president for Makadara area, Swale Sonko for Kibera, and MCA Absalom Odhiambo, also known as Matakwe for Korogocho. The mainstream media is among top targets ahead of Wednesday's planned protests, with digital strategists having already developed smear campaigns and hashtags intended to discredit media outlets. The National Police Service, sources say, has been quietly co-opted into the plan, with past evidence of goons straddling through the city, seemingly under their protection. They have, however, since distanced themselves from the plan. And as Wednesday's protests beckon, one thing is clear. Much still hangs in the balance. What was meant to be a day of civic expression may yet again spiral into another flashpoint of chaos in the city.
Tonight, the Director of Public Prosecution.
Well, we'll definitely keep you updated on the developments that will play out tomorrow. Remember, at KTN, we're the home of unbiased journalism. We'll give you live pictures as things transpire across the country, even here in Nairobi CBD. But speaking of the Gen Z protest anniversary that are set to be held tomorrow, we want to give you a journalist's account. It's so rare that the cameramen and reporters...
Thank you, Fred. Not much is really happening. As you can see, most of the businesses around are on close, no traffic. Remember, at this time, we expect a lot of traffic to be on air, to be happening, but there's nothing much that is happening. And also, as you have seen, there's quite heavy police in terms of those, what we call police lockdown. It's like they are trying to block people from coming in and just seeing who are the people that are getting into the Nairobi CBD. So that is how it is. Not much. This, you can imagine, at this area we normally have a lot of traffic, but nothing is happening, and most of the businesses are on shut.
You can see that's the Haile Selassie roundabout. The roundabout at the railway bus station, which is usually very busy with all the matatus bringing people to town. How are people getting into town from what you can see? Because I can see quite a number of people have made their way into town. How are they making it into town?
Some are walking, but there are few matatus, not much matatus. So they're making their way through by way of walking. But you can still tell there is no much traffic. There's no much traffic at all.
And our camera is just entering Harambee Avenue right now. That's the main government street, which heads towards Parliament Road, which will be probably the main area of action today as younger Kenyans protest, or rather commemorate the more than 60 people who perished, who lost their lives during the events of last year. But we continue here in studio with Senator Joe Nyoto of Murang'a and Titus Lote, MP Kachiliba, trying to discuss why the focus is on the police today and not on the commemoration or the events of last year. Because there's a lot to be talked about last year. Over 60 people died. Parliament precincts were breached for the very first time in Kenya's history. Things that should not happen again, ever. But the focus is on the police and what the police should do. As Senator Nyoto suggested, there could be an issue with the police, that probably there's a bit too much pressure on the junior ranks of the police service. Some of them we can see there on the screens, ready to counter the protest today. Do you think that there could be a problem within the junior ranks of the police service, that there's too much pressure, they're taking too much flack, not just from the public, but also from their seniors and even the government itself, and that there could be a risk? Because we saw last week some of them surrendering their authority to goons in Nairobi. Could there be a risk with this?
So I think if we pass it very fast so that we can go to the appropriations and and finish it, I think by this afternoon, so that Treasury this can be sent to the President for assent, and therefore Treasury can be able to move with speed before the close of the financial year. As you are aware, today today is 25th, we have only 5 days to go. So it is important that we pass this bill very fast, and I don't think there is even much to debate about it. So with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I second it.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the consideration of the third supplementary estimates for the
in donor financing. The committee noted that these revisions reflect ongoing fiscal consolidation efforts and may impact the pace of implementation of key infrastructure projects. Honorable Speaker, the reductions in the road subsector will have an impact on that sector, because a reduction of 11 billion means that some of those projects that are ongoing may stall. Honorable Speaker, as I wind up, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that this supplementary estimates 3 is a very, very brief report, and I would like members to quickly approve it so that as we close the year in the next 2 or 3 days, the revenue projections is aligned with the public expenditures. Honorable Speaker, I would like to ask my able Vice Chairman to second the motion. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Honorable Speaker. I hereby move and ask my able Vice Chairman to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand to second the supplementary 3. Honorable Speaker, this is a very short bill that is regularizing an expenditure that has already been spent. So we're just trying to regularize it, Honorable Speaker. And among them, you remember that they had removed the 12 billion for the CDF, which we returned. And therefore, I think it will be important that the members pass this bill very fast so that they can be able to get their money. Honorable Speaker, among also this, in this statement, in this bill is that there was also money for interns that had not been factored into intern doctors. And therefore, the Committee of Health factored 121 million so that the intern doctors can be paid their last quarter. So this is a very important bill. It's a very small bill, and I don't think members will have much to say about it. I think the gist of the matter is you have your CDF returned. So I think if we pass it very fast so that we can go to the appropriations and go to and finish it, I think by this afternoon, so that Treasury can be able, this can be sent to the President for assent, and therefore Treasury can be able to move with speed before the close of the financial year. As you are aware, today we have only, today is 25th, we have only 5 days to go. So it is important that we pass this bill very fast, and I don't think there is even much to debate about it. So with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I second it.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the consideration of the third supplementary estimates for the 909,000
have heard, but the Hansard has it, that the chair of Budget Committee, as he was moving this estimate, he said that the departmental committees did not look at these estimates. They did not look at these estimates, and he said that because of time and something like that, that they called the chairs of committees to represent the departmental committees. I want to ask if it is in order that chairs of departmental committees can take the place of committees if estimates are sent to departmental committees. Is it by order that they can surpass the debates in the departmental committees, which then make reports to BAC, and then BAC then is able to find out how the estimates were dealt at the committee? Because committee proceedings is the underpinning of this House. So are these estimates, what is the integrity of these estimates? How valid are these estimates before us, before we discuss them?
We begin with some breaking news where an unverified number of fishermen have been killed at the Todonyang border point in Turkana County by suspected militia from neighboring Ethiopia. Details remain scanty, but police say the incident occurred last evening at Lopei Mukat and Natira areas along the Kenya-Ethiopia border in Turkana County. Sources say some heavily armed Ethiopian Dasanech militia ambushed fishermen in Lake Turkana and indiscriminately opened fire. Local security authorities say the incident could be linked to a retaliatory attack in the wake of conflict between the militia and locals. The death toll is still not clear, with police reported to be at the scene to unravel the truth. We will have more details on our evening newscasts.
And the protests, let's now get an update on what the roads look like. I know Kawive was talking about how the town has been cordoned off. So we have Emmanuel Toh is actually on location. Toh, you're on State House Road, or perhaps you can tell us where you are and what the situation is where you are.
Well, thank you very much, Olive. We are currently at State House Road, just next to State House. This is the point of conversion, or rather convention, where the Gen Zs or those who are leading the demonstrations are planning to come to. And yesterday they were told they should not come here, they should not dare make their way through this place because this is a protected area. And right now, there's something that has been done to ensure that that doesn't happen. And if my colleague Mauritius Odwor could just show you some of the pictures right behind me, where barbed wire, or rather razor wire, has been erected or actually put in place to ensure that nobody comes in. And there's a heavy contingent of police around State House Road. This is one of the roads that lead to the house on the hill. And of course, right now, the members of the police are just here to ensure that nothing goes amiss. And it has been the case. We have seen the barbed wires, the razor wires put across the city in all the roads that are leading towards the State House. And of course, it has also been the situation in Parliament. We have just, in our spot check this morning, we've seen the same situation to ensure that nothing happens as it happened a year ago when the Gen Z demonstrators ran over the security barriers that had been put around Parliament, also going, actually invading Parliament, and of course being the height of the Gen Z demonstrations, which actually led to some deaths. And of course the police there, and this has been the situation. Yesterday, the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, said nobody will be allowed to access the places which are restricted, and this is one of them. Remember, State House Nairobi, State House Mombasa, Nakuru, and other state lodges are also protected, and according to the Constitution, and of course other military bases which are actually outlined under the laws of the country to ensure that everything is actually according to plan. And this road has been a ghost road for the better part of today. There are only 1 or 2 vehicles that pass, but ideally it is not as usual. The Gen Z demonstrators, or those who are planning to demonstrate today, said it will be a public holiday, and it looks like one, although they said that it is only the CS for Interior who can declare this, and he was actually in his office by 5 a.m. today, ensuring that everything is safe. And it was rekindling the memories of last year's demonstrations when the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua also came to his office early enough to ensure that everything was going according to plan. And of course, we'll be crisscrossing the city to give you a picture of what will be happening. All the roads leading into the city have been barricaded. There are roadblocks all over, but we'll be here to give you those activities. Over to you, Olive.
All right. Thank you for bringing us that update, Emmanuel To. And I just want to recapture the letter that was written by the mothers who lost children in the protests. And their statement to police, and they talk about also where they will be laying the wreaths. Families of Gen Z protesters killed by police are expected to lead a procession delivering petitions to public officers and lay flowers on streets of Nairobi in remembrance of their loved ones. Petitions are expected to be delivered to the office of the President on Harambee Avenue and Parliament. In the letter to police, they plan activities on Kenyatta Avenue, Mama Ngina Street, Moi Avenue, Harambee Avenue, and Parliament Road. I'll just take that again. Let me just go over that again. The families of Gen Z protesters killed by police are expected to lead a procession delivering petitions to public offices and lay flowers on streets of Nairobi in remembrance of their loved ones. Petitions are expected to be delivered to the office of the President on Harambee Avenue and Parliament. In the letter to police, they plan activities on Kenyatta Avenue, Mama Ngina Street, Moi Avenue, Harambee Avenue, and Parliament Road. And those pictures, that picture on your screen shows where they'll be laying the flowers and where there will be delivery of petitions. You have there Kenyatta Avenue, Mama Ngina Street, Parliament Road, Harambee Avenue, and Moi Avenue that will be affected. And that is from 10 a.m., according to the letter to the police. So that is about in an hour's time. Wangeshi, I had cut you short earlier, and you wanted to address this narrative around the
that we make police be that visible representation of government that will represent government in terms of the good things that the government does. So long as we continue to have police doing bad things, government will continue to do bad things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll bring you in at this point, Kawive, this politicization of policing, right? We had a statement by different diplomatic, what do I call them? Diplomatic missions in the country yesterday. And we saw a statement from the head of Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament immediately. We saw a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they took offense to this statement and said, you know, this is, respect our sovereignty. You are not policing us. How is it, what do you make of that?
You know, and even you forgot where Murkomen called people take advantage of protesters, political scavengers. So there's all that noise about, or in response to what external actors, missions and whatever say. But there are things that are universal. One, Kenya is not an island. We live in a community of nations. So any evil that is being done in Kenya or in one of the other nations will reflect on what we may call the world peace map or the world relations map. So diplomatic missions are here because they are accredited by the state. And they represent their nation and their people. So when they say that, for example, police should not kill or, prevent people. I think
they also referenced
they talked about goons as well. Prevent people from protesting. That is the voice of their government. They have a right to say so. And if the government has a problem with being told what the perspective of other countries are, you can close the mission. Tell them to go away. Because they come with their perspective. You cannot allow me to come to this studio and then you give me a script to read. I can as well stay at home and you read your script. So the point is that freedom of expression, that they have a right to be here, and if the government feels that they do not want to hear external voices, and actually the voice of other nations around, because it is clear when police are closing the civic space, they are saying people do not protest. When the police are condoning goons, you know, have been mobilized, and we see very clearly they are working with the police, like the case was, like Angeshi was saying here. It is the surest path to going to civil strife. Why? Because these goons and their formations will become a power on their own. And then they will now contest for political space with both the police and political actors. If you remember, sometime in the 80s and 90s, there were gangs like that in Gisakasaga, I think in Kisii, Amachuma. We heard about the Baghdad boys and whatever. They became powers. They became points of power and focus, so that then they are used for political purposes, and then when they are not being used, they form their own political power bases. Mongiki is another example. They were used politically, and then they became powerful and formed their own. And the government had to invest a lot in terms of tearing down these gangs. So we should not entertain that kind of thing, because creating a space for another organ outside the police to enforce or to fight citizens in the civic space is totally Haiti. Our police went to Haiti to keep the peace. What is the problem with Haiti? Goons. People who have taken over policing. People who have taken over the state and other functions of government. So that warning is spot on. We should not entertain other people. The reason why we have a police service is because we need laws to be enforced. We need peace to be kept. We need a predictable way of following the law. And that is what we are urging the police to do, even ourselves, that, you know, they have a constitutional responsibility. They should fulfill that responsibility by doing what is right.
Okay.
And what is right is not ambiguous.
All right.
You cannot shoot somebody in the head and say you are keeping peace. No. You cannot block us. You know, when you look at these streets close like this, it reminds you of Nazi Germany, the swastika. It's where we had this kind of cordoning of roads. That wire, what is it called? The wire?
Razor
wire.
Yeah.
Electric.
Is a Hitler thing.
Okay.
Is that what we are seeing here?
All right, let me bring in Wangeshi. What will it take to shock the system? And I ask that question because if you look at the Mukwana statement to IPOA regarding what happened to Albert Ojwang, that his life cost as little as 2,000 shillings for alcohol, if it is indeed proved to have been the case. It is shocking that something can happen in this day and age. You look at the picture, the video that circulated, you know, of Boniface Kariuki, shot in the head in just, again, circumstances that were totally unwarranted. What, in your view, will it take to shake the system?
As I answer your question, let us look at the joint statement from the ambassadors and heads of missions that made this call yesterday. What they said is, as we mark today, we call on all to facilitate peaceful demonstrations and to refrain from use of force and violence, use of plain-clothed officers and unmarked vehicles. And then they go on to say we are troubled by the use of hired guns that infiltrate peaceful protests, and that they call for swift, transparent and independent investigations. What is wrong with that? Honestly, what is wrong with that statement? It's simply reinforcing the same message all of us are saying, the same message Kenyans have been saying, and the biggest problem with our government, let me be very honest, is that they don't listen. The government does not listen. It doesn't seem to care what is being said. Because if the government was listening, we would not be having already 42 people who've died within the police, under the hands of police in 2025. Now, I know Wakili here said nothing worse could have happened, after, those years, and he gave an example of a situation. But but can you imagine the loss of 67 people in 2023 during protests? 63 persons, they're actually not 60, they're 63. Yeah? We have the 60 and we will cross-check to see who are the 3 that are missing. But there are 63. 63 people in 2024. We are in June 2025. We've reported 42 deaths already, extrajudicial killings. To me, it is really out of this world. It is wrong. And when you ask what will it take to shock the system, I think we need to know that a time is coming where every duty bearer is going to answer on the question of accountability.
All right. Sorry. Question of accountability. Answer. I'll pick it up with you there. Just those pictures. This looks like the Stanley in the Central Business District.
Now see.
And we are seeing tear gas. Tear gas on Kimathi Street. So those pictures coming to you live from the Central Business District. I don't know what instigated the tear gas, but we do have reporters across the country, as you've seen, and they will provide an update.
Yeah. So Olive, people, including the executive, parliament, all the constitutional agencies and the National Police Service, we need to be responsible for our actions as an individual and as a command. If it is a police, whoever has a command control, and we are saying every individual police officer should be held accountable for their individual actions. The command responsibility has to take accountability for the instructions they issue and for everything that goes wrong within that command. Yesterday, we were reassured a lot of times, including by the spokesperson of the police, that they would de-escalate, that they will manage today, they will escort protesters, and we were expecting, a calm day. Now, when we start seeing tear gas at 10, it's not even 10, it's just a couple of minutes. And what we were seeing before, only we were watching the same screen. It was peaceful protesters, and I repeated, please watch the screens, because it's important that we see. They were not armed. I don't know what has led to the tear gas. We are not privy to that part of the screen. But for this system to be shocked, they need to know that this is an uprising, that Kenyans are tired, and they're saying we need to change the way things are being done. Honestly, if there was accountability and the government had taken responsibility and said to Mama Kennedy, to the many Kenyans, Masharia's family, and said, we take responsibility, we are sorry it happened, here's compensation, here are police officers we've taken to court, and they did some of the things right, the situation will not be what it is today. Why Kenyans are frustrated is because no one is taking accountability, and that is serious, and we need to start calling the shots as they are.
In just 1 year, 2024, there were 104 police killings and 55 enforced disappearances, a shocking rise compared to previous years. Nairobi topped the list, and most of those killed were shot during protests, many of them peaceful. In June 2024 alone, 38 people died during the Gen Z-led protests against the finance bill. Police used live bullets, not rubber, and they didn't just kill, they hunted protest leaders. Some were taken at night, only for their bodies to be found days later. Fast forward to this year, 2025, and the killings continue. On June 8th, 31-year-old blogger Albert Ojwang died mysteriously in police custody. They said it was suicide, but an autopsy told a different story. Signs of assault, internal injuries, blunt trauma. Days later, in Nairobi, police shot a street vendor, Boniface Kariuki, point blank in the head. He's now fighting for his life in ICU. 2 officers were finally arraigned, but justice still pending.
Wacha nikuelezee Rashid. Gavana anatembea hapa nje, anatangaza wazi, anaambia kila mtu hakuna penye mtanipeleka kwa sababu mimi nikishasanya pesa kiwango fulani inaendea rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Yeye mwenyewe anasema. Hii inakuonyesha kwamba kuna shida. Kitu chenye Ruto atatusaidia nayo, rais wetu atatusaidia nayo, ni kushika Sakaja. Hakuna haja ya EACC watoke hapa Nairobi waende Kiambu.
Lakini kama hakuna ushahidi.
Ngoja kwanza, ushahidi iko mingi Rashid.
Naam.
Ushahidi hata uliona Auditor General wanasema ni nani tena anakula Nairobi isipokuwa ni wana Nairobi. Uliona katika reports za Auditor General anasema vizuri Nairobi imefujwa. Nairobi wamekula Nairobi, wamemaliza Nairobi. Reports ziko. Kwa hivyo naongea from a factual point of view. Hakuna haja wana EACC watoke Nairobi waende Kiambu. Wacha nikuelezee Rashid. Gavana anatembea hapa nje, anatangaza wazi, anaambia kila mtu hakuna penye mtanipeleka kwa sababu mimi nikishasanya pesa kiwango fulani inaendea rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Yeye mwenyewe anasema. Hii inakuonyesha kwamba kuna shida. Kitu chenye Ruto atatusaidia nayo, rais wetu atatusaidia nayo, ni kushika Sakaja. Hakuna haja ya EACC watoke hapa Nairobi waende Kiambu.
Lakini kama hakuna ushahidi.
Ngoja kwanza, ushahidi iko mingi Rashid.
Naam.
Ushahidi hata uliona Auditor General wanasema ni nani tena anakula Nairobi isipokuwa ni wana Nairobi. Uliona katika reports za Auditor General anasema vizuri Nairobi imefujwa. Nairobi wamekula Nairobi, wamemaliza Nairobi. Reports ziko. Kwa hivyo naongea from a factual point of view. Hakuna haja wana EACC watoke Nairobi waende Kiambu. Wacha nikuelezee Rashid. Gavana anatembea hapa nje, anatangaza wazi, anaambia kila mtu hakuna penye mtanipeleka kwa sababu mimi nikishasanya pesa kiwango fulani inaendea rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Yeye mwenyewe anasema. Hii inakuonyesha kwamba kuna shida. Kitu chenye Ruto atatusaidia nayo, rais wetu atatusaidia nayo, ni kushika Sakaja. Hakuna haja ya EACC watoke hapa Nairobi waende Kiambu.
So far, we have been following up on all protests, parliament proceedings, and expert opinions on this difficult topic. Let's pray for peace, and may the leaders listen to the people. What do you think of all these insurrections in Kenya and around the world? Let us know in the comments. Are the police justified? Are protests worth the human cost? So far, we have been following. Have you ever been in a protest? Share your experiences in the comments.
Utendaji kazi wa askari ambao utaona wengine wanafanikisha, wanawaongoza, wanajua tutaweza kupitia njia fulani, na basi waandamanaji wanatembea katika njia ambao wanaruhusiwa kuji-express. Lakini kwingine utaona hata wale ambao sasa kwa sababu jiji limefungwa, watu sasa wameanza kucheza mipira, unaona basi vitoa machozi zinatolewa. Na nakumbuka koti ilitoa amri ya kwamba Wakenya ambao wanadumisha amani wasije wakatumia nguvu kupita kiasi, haswa kutumia silaha na kutumia kama vitoa machozi na kutumia bunduki ama zile rubber bullets ama zile bullets za mipira. Na unaona vizuri kwamba baadhi ya sehemu mbalimbali katika nchi kuna wale ambao wanaji-express na pia kuna wale wenye wamenyimwa fursa kabisa.
Sasa nataka tuangalie, unajua ni vizuri kabla hatujakwenda kuzungumzia mambo, tuangalie kile kitu ambacho ni uhalisia. Leo tumesema ni siku gani? Ni siku ambapo watu wanakuja kufanya maadhimisho ya kukumbuka wale walopoteza maisha. Lakini tukiangalia picha za pale Nairobi tunaona ni kitu gani kinaendelea. Pengine nije kwako Dr. Alphonse. Kama unaona vizuri pale kuna watu mpaka wanacheza mpira katika barabara za Nairobi. Kama mlinda usalama anastahili afanyeje? Awache watu? Manake kwa kawaida, siku ya kawaida barabara si sehemu ya kucheza mpira jamani.
Hii ndio tumesema ya kwamba leo, kwanza ningeanza na kusema ya kwamba umesema nini inaendelea leo. Kile kinaendelea leo ni maombolezo.
Naam.
Tunaomboleza na tunatuma rambirambi na maombi kwa wale wazazi ambao walipoteza watoto wao. It's unfortunate.
Kabisa.
Ni jambo ambalo hakuna mtu angependa kusikia ama hiyo uchungu kupitia katika familia zao. Wote tunaomboleza. Lakini pia tunaomboleza kile tunaona hapo katika runinga zetu